one of the oldest Tier 7 carriers to ever grace the waters of World of Warships Legends. How does she fare in 2023? Well, let's find out. Give me a second. Oh, dude, I'm insane. I'm the Torp of Justice. The Torp of Justice. Ooh, baby. Oh, the Torp of Justice. Yo, this is a literal bro moment. Look at that Wichita's HP. So here we are in 2023. As you saw with those little clips, Shokaku is still quite devastating. With the Torpedo Alpha almost 25k, yeah, it's very, very good. Thank you for watching and tuning in. My name is Demo Impact. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, and we're back at it again with another Tier 7 carrier guide. This time, an oldie but a goodie Shokaku. This thing has undergone 2 reworks, going from a 3-plane attack squadron on torpedo bombers to a 2-plane, and going from 2 to 3, and that is where we at now. 25k damage torps, with all 3 torps on a very tight dispersion, good speed, the planes themselves, very good speed, and very stealthy. Sound familiar? It should, because if you paid attention to my Kaga guide, if you watched it, thank you for watching it first off. This thing plays almost similar to Kaga when I play it. Um, I really like going for this one squadron strike style of carrier play. 25,000 torpedo alpha is more than enough to get in one strike. I don't like getting greedy with it. Here are my mods. You see here, it's very, very similar. I think it might actually be, yeah, it's exactly the same as my Kaga setup. I really like going for these one strike, high risk, high reward strategies where you conserve your planes, much like the Kaga. And in the Shokaku, you're actually going to want to do that more and more often, more than the Kaga actually, because Shokaku, if you go on Reddit or YouTube, there's a lot of good carrier players even that say Shokaku is bad, and I'm kind of on the fence on that. I really, really like this playstyle. This is one of the, well, this is probably the carrier to fear if you're in a cruiser, because 25,000 damage. If you think about it, a lot of cruisers can get death struck by Shokaku torps. If if any of these cruisers that I'm about to list off get hit by any shell from a battleship or a cruiser, Shokaku can come in and instantly clean it. I'm talking the newest release, San Diego, Harbin. If you're caught out, Cleveland, Wichita, Baltimore. The list goes on and on. This thing is surprisingly really, really good at taking out those cruisers, and it's due to the torpedoes. These torpedoes, like I said, hit for 25k, almost 25k on my build. And 25k is a really, really good number at tier 7, because that is crossing the halfway point for cruiser HP. And that's what you're going to be doing in Shokaku, going for very fast strikes on decently stealthy planes. These planes are decently stealthy at 6.7 torpedo bombers only, and the torps go decently fast at 54 knots. You don't really want to worry about the torp range, since you're going to come in close very fast, and you're going to just wipe these cruisers off the map. Every tier 7 cruiser, in my opinion, should fear the Shokaku. There's not that many cruisers that can actually tank Shokaku torps and like live to tail to tail. Siegfried, Azuma, all these little, like, these big HP cruisers with decent torp belts, they're going to be the ones to counter Shokaku. But for most of the the standard matchmaking pool, they're going to see a lot of Baltimores or just really bowing cruisers or kiting cruisers, which Shokaku eliminates fairly well. Now, Shokaku, the one controversy that most people have with it is it's bad. I don't think so. The reason they give the it's bad reason is because of the other side of the squadron. The dive bombers are bad. I'm gonna admit it. These things are awful. These things are garbage. On one hand, you have absolute gold with these torpedo bombers. On the other hand, it's fool's gold. Man, these bombs suck. They are very, very bad. The fire chance is okay at 55%, but when you're going into a game and you're actually diving with the dive bombers, they don't maneuver at all. When you're going for a strike, they barely move an inch. Whereas something like Lexington, Pobeda, even Implacable, those bombs do get to wiggle around and you can adjust your aim. But with Shokaku, it's more so you have to hit him once or you're gonna miss the entire drop. So you're focusing on the torpedoes. You were going after cruisers. If you're gonna play the Shokaku, 100% DDs first and then cruisers. Or if there's no destroyers, bingo, there's the cruisers. And for battleships, that's where the bombs come in slightly useful, very very slightly. If you want to set a perma fire or a perma flood, you just rotate these two bombers, going torpedo or bomb or torpedo, whichever is easier for you. Honestly, I will just practice with these torpedo bombers, get them pinpoint accurate. The dispersion is very, very good. I feel like these are probably the most accurate torpedo bombers at tier 7. I probably haven't seen tighter dispersion coming out of a Parseval, Lexi, Implacable maybe, but Implacable's torpedo dispersion is kind of weak. It's kind of like everywhere. You either get very very wide torps on the Implacable, or you get very very narrow. It's super inconsistent. But on Shokaku, because they changed it from two planes to attack to three, they haven't changed the reticle. So you have three torpedo planes attacking on a 2-plane reticle, and that comes out to very very tight torpedo spreads. And that is Shokaku's strength right there, ladies and gentlemen. Going for 25k alpha strikes. Pretty sure these go 183 knots, which if I go onto my Saipan build, which actually has the best bombs, kid you not, these are the best American bombs, they also go 183 knots, and I'm not even building for the bombs. I only have a slight speed modification here. This should probably be switched out, but this is my midway build, so you can ignore that. Going back to the Shokaku though, these are very very fast. It doesn't have quite the reaction time that a Kaga or Hakuryu can, but these cruisers probably won't have enough reaction time until they hear their AA guns going off, which at that point the torpedo bombers are already very very close, and man, they're going to devastate these cruisers. On the other aspects of Shokaku, just like most tier 7 carriers, even the Graf Zeppelin, the secondaries are very, very weak. AA defense on Shokaku is very, very poor compared to the other tier 7 carriers. Maneuverability, if you're using Azure Lane Shokaku, will bump you up to 35.7 knots, which is actually decently fast. But if you don't have Azure Lane Shokaku and you want to run a free build, here is the free build. It works just as good. You even get a little baby burn bonus. And if you're just now starting off, researching the IJ and carrier line, and you don't have Azure Lane Shokaku to sweat with, you can run this exact build right here on screen. It is very very good. It's mostly free. I don't know if you can get Jersey Sikorsky for free now. I'll have to check on that later, but this is a free build. Fully packed is very very good for starting carrier players. You get another evasive maneuver charge, and that means you get more time to land those torps without suffering from the effects of anti-air. So that's the free build, and this is the sweat build. This is amazing build. I love this build. I run this on most of my IGN carriers. If I had Ayana, I would run that on Kaga, but Azure Lane Shokaku right now is a very very strong Azure Lane girl, and it's amazing. It's amazing. 183 knot planes, 25k alpha. It's just goodbye cruisers. I mean, you can't say more. Anyways, I want to bring you guys into an AI match to show you what I am talking about, so I'll see you there now. So here we are at the start of the AI match. As you can hear, we have the lead girl in the background. I was playing with the Lady Liberty guys, so yeah, that has to be on. But anyways, I'm going to practice what I preach, and I'm going to drop both sets of extra torps and only have one. 25k is a lot, and this is more Shokaku favored matchmaking, definitely. I probably would have wanted another cruiser in the destroyer slot, but hey, this is fine. I'm just showcasing how to play the thing. Dropping fighters in mid. You always want to drop over a corridor. A corridor, if you don't know, is one of these two spots right here, in between A and B, or B and C. And if you have multiple caps, you can probably just drop them in between caps. Corridors are usually the routes that carriers take, so you want to block those off with fighters. You don't have to directly drop fighters over carrier planes, since it's not as effective and it's a little too aggressive. You want to use them more passively. Anyways, we're going to drop on this York and watch this. Boom! Oh my god, 20 6,000 damage right to the dome. This thing is anti-cruiser 100%. This is why I really, really like going for these single carrier strikes, almost like a Beta or the Kaga when I drop the video. Um, you don't really need the backup shots. If you're going for cruisers, all you need is one, and the thing is crit pulled. If you have decent teammates, they can help out, and that's probably what they should be doing. If I were to run this thing in a division, I would probably run this thing in a cruiser heavy division, maybe like I don't know, like Baltimore, Wichita division. But there's First Blood, kinda on to the York. I tried to line up on the Kiev, and I did get the lineup right, but teammates did take it. It's fine. It's only AI. But again, I'm only singling out the cruiser since their AA is worse than battleships most times. And again, they don't have torpedo boats like a battleship, so they take most of the brute force from these torpedoes, lining up on the Surrey, making it quick so we can go into the actual game. Take appropriate lead. And pow. This thing hits crazy hard. It's amazing. All you need to do is, if you're a free-to-play player, run fully packed, practice going for single strikes, use the evasive maneuvers charge, there it is left on the D-pad, and just practice on these strikes. This thing is very, very good at removing cruisers, and if you get good enough with it, it'll be almost every game where you knock out a cruiser. Maybe in the first 5 minutes. It's a very consistent it's a very consistent carrier. I can showcase that right here with the dispersion. Dispersion is very, very tight, and the torp, I don't want to say torp sigma, but the torp dispersion is mostly consistent. That's very tight grouping. That's grouping that a Lexington or a Parsifal could only pray for. And even for battleships, that was like, what, 16k to the face? Yeah, I mean, and that's unhealable too, which is another great strength of Shokaku, is not only is this damage very, very heavy, but unlike Implacable or Saipan, where they deal most of their damage with DOT, or damage over time, this is just brute force, so like AP shells, you're not going to be able to heal most of this. And if you hit the battle right there, boom, 6,000 damage, almost 7,000 to a battleship that can't heal that back. This is a very, very, very strong carrier. Again, launching the strike squad, and I'm gonna pre-drop twice. I probably won't have enough time to pre-drop the second time, so I'm just gonna strike this recently. Again, very, very consistent torpedo dispersion, and it's very, very comfortable to actually attack with these. They don't wiggle as much as Lexi or Implacable, but they're steady enough to where your aim is almost perfect, like Parsifal. Parsifal, if you didn't know, has a very, very fast time to aim. Shokaku, it's okay. It's okay. Since the torps don't wiggle as much, it almost auto aims for you. But anyways, that's the showcase. Let's get into the actual game, boys. So here we are, finally at the game. This turns out to be a very, very good game. Low 200,000 damage, and we do pass 3.5k base. So I'm gonna go ahead and practice what I preach yet again, and drop 2 sets of torpedoes and get that 25k alpha strike going. Right here watching. This is pretty good matchmaking for a Shokaku. Drop the fighters there. Make sure they spot. Again, I put the fighters in a corridor in between the caps. Going for the Plymouth here because Plymouth is a very, very dangerous target, and it doesn't have as good AA to stop a single squadron. 3 go down, and we're gonna wait. Boom, right there. 16, almost 17,000 damage right to the face. Unhealable damage. Well, mostly unhealable because it is a Plymouth. I don't know. Plymouth might have a super heal, but anyways, we just did almost half of his HP. There's a DD in there, might go for that, and then there's a DD in C. So both DDs we know are in B and C, so we're going to try to split air control. First we're going to go for the destroyer in C, see if we can maybe light him up. This is between a Moss and a Japanese destroyer. Getting a little greedy here, and I went for the little pre-attack, and he actually manages to dodge my torps last second. Yeah, and I'm gonna completely choke that drop again. We want to, when you're playing Shokaku, you want to watch your deck, especially your torpedo deck, and make sure you're on a number that you can launch and you would instantly have three, or you can drop a set of torpedoes and then go back to three. In this case, we dropped nine, but instead of pre-dropping, we're gonna try to get rid of the Yudachi. Nope, we completely choked that drop, and unfortunately, our destroyer will go down because of that. Although Miv in the Lenin picks him up, but that's an unfortunate trade. We did just lose our AADD. Again, we're going to try to go for this Moss. If not go for the Moss, we will go for the Montpelier in the back, because it is a cruiser and we're in a Shokaku and we devastate cruisers in this thing.
I don't know.
One thing to note, if you are running Azure Lane Shokaku, or if you're running the free build on Gunichi, I think Macau, I don't remember the free Japanese CV player's name, but if you're running We Are Legion, you can get rid of fully packed because the torpedo speed is more than enough, and you won't need to use an extra engine cooling charge for most of the game, because the torpedo speed, the torpedo dive bomb speed enough will just completely mitigate the fact that you need a engine cooling charge. We're gonna pre-drop these bombs as well because we really don't want to get deplaned now that we have lost our DD. We did connect 3 onto the Montpelier. I forgot to call that out, and he went down a half. So I mean, just another showcase as an AA cruiser, quote unquote. Just absolutely gets smacked in the face. I recalled my bombs there because I saw that the John Bart didn't have his AA active. So we're going to punish that big time, but by not pre-dropping, this is probably one of the few times I won't pre-drop because JB doesn't have his AA on. And this is actually a perfect time to showcase what these torpedoes can do to the bow of a battleship. Keep in mind that John Bart's AA is deactivated, and John Bart has the strongest battleship anti-air at tier 7. So be very, very careful when you are striking a John Bart, and only go for a single squadron. Torps down, teammates are helping out with the John Bart. John Bart realizes, what is going on? I just took 16k to the face, and my engine's broken. Why aren't I shooting down planes? And boom, he turns on his brain and starts shooting at my planes. But now that he doesn't have control of his engine, we can actually just line up another one onto his bow, and boom. Yep, that's a lot of damage. And more often than not, if you're aiming for the bows of battleships with Shokaku, you're more often than not going to get a flood. We're going to let teammates take care of it. You might hear me in the background because this was a live commentary game over Discord. Unfortunately, PlayStation doesn't record Discord audio from my friends, so you'll just hear me talking like a lunatic. I swear I'm not talking to myself. It's Discord. PlayStation won't pick up Discord. My Discord friends. Unfortunately, we do lose Miv, and we are down 2 caps, 205 to 419, and we're a man down. Pick up the John Bart, and this is another one of Shokaku's strengths. If you get very, very good with the torpedoes, you can absolutely devastate destroyers as well. Not just the cruisers, you can absolutely devastate destroyers. Boom. Yeah, that never gets old. Switching on to the dive bombers, I wanted to start a fire. You can do this if you want to give your torpedo bombers a little break, let them recharge and rebuild themselves on the deck. You can switch on to your dive bombers, and you can actually go with 6, like I'm doing here, or you can go with 3 and use evasive maneuvers, whichever one is right in your current situation. But I'm going to pre-drop 3 here, and I'm going to use evasive maneuvers, block off the corridor between A and B with the fighters, so that the carrier has to struggle a little bit. And yep, sure enough, we're going to use evasive maneuvers here. Try to save the dive bomber HP. And as you can see here, this is one of the weaknesses. Wow. It is crazy how, like, slow these things are. And there's the fire chance. Like, it's try not to use the bombers. Please don't build for bombs on Shokaku. It is very, very bad. Trying to get my teammates to get into C there, because I really, really want to push up to this island right here where my planes are flying. This is a very good island. If you have sea control, push up to this island. It is a very, very good island on, I forgot what this map was, but I mean, it's just a good island. If you have control of C. We're going after the Plymouth with 9 because the Plymouth's AA is very weak compared to most of the tier 7 cruisers. Dropping there, and boom. That's a lot of damage. He is forced to smoke up, but since we did not pre-drop, we have another attack coming in. Very, very weak. And since he smoked up, I'm going to just leave the angle decently wide so my torps can spread and have a better chance of hitting him. Again, we push up, but not too hard because Shokaku, unlike Pobeda and Implacable, doesn't have an armor deck and can get punished easily. This thing is slightly easier to destroy than most tier 7 carriers, so you're going to watch out for that. I did see the Otago try to make a move, and so we're going to, again, not pre-drop because this thing has very, very weak AA. Otago, Mogami, Suzuya, these Japanese cruisers have very, very poor anti-air, and we're just going to line up drops. We're just going to line up drops to try to get rid of these guys and see if we can read them points for our team. As you can see, our team is now starting to get C, so we will start to hamper their point advantage. There's the high cal, and I EM here because I did slightly get into the Alabama's anti-air, so that little chip damage would have cost a plane there. This fighter actually will not shoot down a plane because of that. I used evasive maneuvers to deny most of that first plane's HP, and now it's going to get spread onto the second one. So that fighter cannot do damage and kill. Lining up for the Otago, again, go for these cruisers. Very, very good cruiser killer, and now we have to start farming down this Alabama. There's 3, boom, perfect 10 takes him out. And we're going to line into the B. That's another strength of Azure Lane Shokaku over the free-to-play commander. Your carrier will rotate very, very fast with Azure Lane Shokaku. One of the very few carrier inspirations where it's actually decently well. It syncs decently well with the actual lines that it's meant to support. Again, I'm going to let my torpedo dive bombers calm down for a little bit, and I'm going to switch onto the dive bombers. Man, it's very, very. It's almost shameful, like using these bombs. I almost never want to bring these out. They're that bad. Squadron detected. These things actually do have some decent detection. 7.5, it's not the worst. It's definitely not like lighthouse planes. Pobeda and Parseval are 2 examples. They have lighthouse planes. They're spotted from like 10 kilometers, something like that. I'm actually make a very, very risky move. Try not to do this in your Shokaku because I've had games where I just throw the game because I just get killed. I mean, Shokaku is just very, very easy to kill. I get very, very lucky that the Alabama just doesn't turn back and kill me, because had I died here, we probably couldn't have gone for the Saipan, and Saipan would have probably ran away with this. So try not to do this. Be mindful. Have situational awareness, because in the moment I was just trying to push in. I was probably the only hope for my team. But yeah, for battleships, like I showed onto the John Bart, you're going to want to target the bows and the stern. For this, we're going for the stern. We got very, very close with that. Down to like the millisecond, and we're going to get a lot of damage with the rudder and a flood. So now he is on a flood, and he can't move. Easy pickings for my team. There's a Saipan. I look over my shoulder. Sure enough, he's running away. So pushing in with Azure Lane Shokaku was definitely the right thing to do. And this drop should secure the Alabama here. We have to rotate onto the dive bombers yet again. Again, try to save your torpedo bombers because you really don't want to bring these out. Shokaku is one of those carriers where if you keep your main squadron alive for the end of the game, it is very, very strong. Because at the end of the game, you're gonna have cruisers, battleships that are like at the halfway point of their HP. So you're gonna need something that can strike easily and strike hard, and that's where Shokaku's torpedo bombs come in very nicely. Again, no need for fully packed here. These bombs and torpedoes go decently fast, so, and with my good positioning as well, I don't need another engine cooling charge. We get decently lucky with RNG here. And yep, the alpha isn't the greatest, but it's something. I mean, if rockets were to come out, I'd definitely switch out the Japanese mainline bombs with the rockets. I hate the bombs on the mainline Japanese carriers, except for Kagas. Kagas are decently consistent, unlike Ryujo, Zuiho. Please don't buy Zuiho. Shokaku. Hakuryus are a little more consistent. Hakuryus, I will say, are a little bit more consistent than Shokaku's, but that's because they drop, I think, a tad bit quicker. And the planes themselves are just more maneuverable and they're faster. Lining this up, and here is another one of Shokaku's strengths. If you're left in a 1v1 or it's nearing the end of the game and you have the carrier to target, this can happen more often than not. Unless it's Chicago or Lexington, you're easily gonna clap carriers like that. Boom. That is a lot of damage, and he's one shot. And that's unfortunately gonna be the end of our damage regime. Satago will pick him up, but I will try to squeeze in these last few bombs and fail miserably, because you see that to the right? Yep, that's fighters. And I don't have an EM charge ready, so yeah, goodbye, bros. Sorry. But 219,000 damage, 34 torpedoes. If you follow this one squadron strategy, you will prevail in the Shokaku. It's a very good carrier if you play it right. Yep, there we go. I'll see you guys in the end screen. So, as that game showcased, we used a ton of the torps. We took the one strike only principle to its maximum, and we got a lot of damage. I think it was 219,000, if I recall correctly, and 3.6k base, which is pretty good for a tier 7 carrier. Now, is this a carrier I would recommend for beginners? Absolutely. If you can get good with these torps, you can get good with any of the other, let's say, tech tree line torps. Because if you can land these torps, you can probably land Saipan, what else? Lexi, definitely Implacable, Parsival, absolutely. Lexington, for me, is high risk, high reward. Because if you get deplaned early with these torpedo bombers, you're going to be pretty useless with these eye bombers, because they're very bad. If you saw in that game, I barely used them, so I highly recommend using this one squadron strategy of attack to preserve as many torpedo planes as possible. Where would I place this on a tier list? You'll have to find out next week when I actually do my carrier tier list, and I promise, I will make this tier list. It's going to be very fun watching everyone's reactions to the tier list. I'm sure I will get a lot of Reddit people really mad where I place the British carriers, especially the Furious, because it's amazing. It's gonna be an amazing video. I hope to see you guys then. But until then, Shokaku is an amazing carrier if you play it right, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Not this guy. Lexi's all yours. Call me Jackal from R6 the way I be tracking these guys. Oh my god, that was insane.